Self-Publishing 101 is dead. In its place is Self-Publishing Launchpad, a course by Mark Dawson, which has just opened up for new students and new enrollees. I am a student of Mark's Self-Publishing 101 course. I took it all the way back in 2015, and I like to make a video when it's open to let people who might be considering buying the course or not know whether I think it's worth the money. And this one is a little delayed because obviously I had to look at the newly reinvented Launchpad product, and I have a verdict for you. So if you're interested, stay tuned. Hi guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is Roland Hume. I am an author under my own name and under a pen name. I have written and published 30 books, I think. And I've been pretty successful. I've got a romance series that I've written, which has sold over 68,000 copies, reached 320,000 readers on Kindle Unlimited, and made me $275,000 in royalties. So I am not Lee Child, but I am, able to say I reached a certain level of success that I think a lot of other people and a lot of other aspiring authors would like to get to. And the interesting thing is, through the journey that led to me being successful in self-publishing, I came upon a philosophy, a belief, which is anybody has the potential to be a successful self-published author. All you need to do is learn the craft of writing and follow the process of successful self-publishing. And the process of successful self-publishing is just that. It's a process. It's not rocket science. I think a lot of us as self-published authors, when we started off, we thought the marketing was the hard part. It's actually having a book that people want to buy. That's the really difficult part. If you've got a book that people want to buy, the marketing part works for itself as long as you know how to do it. And that's where courses like Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101 are really, really useful and important. When I started off in my self-publishing journey, there were no other courses about self-publishing out there. It was a revolutionary course. So I invested, I think it was $500 at the time for Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101. And I took it, and I will say it did take a few years. 2015 is when I took it. 2018 is when I published my first bestseller. But what I learned in Mark Dawson's course enabled me to set up all of the things that I needed to do to make the process of self-publishing work for me. It's like I had everything set up because Mark Dawson taught me how, and then I just had to keep writing and publishing books until I got one that people wanted to buy. And once I had dialed into that, like a radio frequency, I was able to write another one that people also wanted to buy, and then another one that people also wanted to buy. And from that point, what I'd learned from Mark Dawson's course had enabled me to be successful in that as long as I wrote a good book. And that's what it's all about, writing a good book. So when I have made videos reviewing Mark Dawson's Self-Publishing 101, I've often said that there's kind of like a special sauce missing. It's like he tells you everything you need to do, step by step, but there's like this special sauce missing about how to write a book that people really want to buy. And it's something I believed so passionately that I actually made my own course called So You've Self-Published a Book on Amazon, Now What? And pretty much it was about, okay, let's pull your book apart and actually see whether we can improve the cover, whether we can improve the blurb, whether we can improve the look inside, and actually have a product that people want to buy. Because I'm a 20-year veteran of the advertising industry, and I know from bitter experience that it doesn't matter how good your product is, if people don't want to buy it, it doesn't matter how good your advertising is, if people don't want to buy your product, they're not going to buy it. Like, you can tell everyone in the world about it, but if they don't want to buy it, they're not going to buy it. So you have to write a book that people want to buy. And that was, to me, the part that was always kind of missing from Mark Dawson's course. But it's interesting. This year, they have decided to relaunch it as something called Launchpad and basically redo the whole thing, which I think was long overdue. I think the course, I do recommend the course, but I have made criticisms in previous videos that I've done. It's like it's become a bit of a Frankenstein beast. So in 2015, it was brand new, been recorded, I think, that year. And so I listened to it and it was really fresh. And then the next year, a lot of the material was still completely valid, but some things had changed and they kind of like sliced out bits and re-recorded bits and put them in. And it ended up by 2021, which was the last time I did a video about it, that some parts of the course were like the Legacy 2015, some parts were brand new, and it kind of felt like a Frankenstein's creation, also like bloated a lot. So I still thought it was valuable, I still thought it was worth the money, but I was like, I did find that a little challenging. And I guess I'm not the only one. So that's why they decided to reinvent the whole product as Launchpad. And Launchpad is interesting because I think it takes the focus away from, hey, self-publishing 101 is how you publish a book. So in some ways, Mark Dawson was teaching you exactly that. There was no special sauce missing because all he was doing was teaching you how to publish a book, not necessarily make it successful. Launchpad is about how to launch your book so people see it, people buy it, and become successful. And to me, that change in philosophy is kind of evident through all of the course materials because it's very much now about thinking, how can you make your book something that appeals to readers? And there are new segments that focus on like the cover and the blurb and the sellability of the book, which I think are really, really, really important. And I'm really excited to see that attention is being focused on those. And obviously, all of the course materials now, in terms of other tools that didn't exist back in 2015, have been updated, but it's all kind of like seamless now because a lot of it has been re-recorded. There are still some legacy parts, but for the most part, it's like fresh. And the freshest thing about it is the change in focus. And the change in focus towards like making a product that is sellable, because that's the real thing. And in some ways, I think that's what's changed since Mark Dawson originally launched Self-Publishing 101. Because back in those days, 2015, it was kind of the Wild West. And if you wrote and self-published a book, you were probably going to sell a few copies. I mean, I know that. Like, I started self-publishing in 2015, and I made covers of my little erotic short stories out on PowerPoint, and I uploaded them, and immediately I was making hundreds of dollars a month. So 2015, when you were writing full-length novels, if you halfway knew what you were doing, you would be able to make money doing it. 2022, it's a different beast because there are now just millions and millions of more books out there. There is a lot of like spam stuff going on. Amazon has redesigned the homepage, so like 70% of it is dominated by paid for advertising. It is much more challenging to make a self-published book successful these days. And so that's why I think it was about time that Self-Publishing 101 really looked into sort of the holistic state of self-publishing as an industry, rather than just like textbook, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this. So there we go. I think it is a really valuable product. The thing that I think I really appreciate about it is it's not cheap. I understand that. I think it's in the $700 range now. But when you buy one of Mark Dawson's products, you get lifetime access to it, which is pretty cool because they update things every year, and then occasionally they'll relaunch the product. And the nice thing is, if you bought Self-Publishing 101 back in 2015, like I did, you have access to Launchpad, the brand new product now as well, for free. You don't have to pay anything or buy it again or anything like that. So that's kind of nice because really you make that one-time investment, and as the industry changes and gets updated, you get the opportunity to have access to all of the materials that are being made and re-recorded in the future. And that can make a big difference. I mean, I know, going back to sort of go through the materials again, there's a lot of stuff that didn't exist in 2015 that I had access to, like in the advertising for authors thing, all the stuff about Amazon. I thought was really, Amazon advertising was really valuable, especially since in 2015 Amazon didn't allow advertising on its platform. So yeah, you're making like a lifetime commitment when you buy the product, but the nice thing is the product kind of gives you a lifetime commitment back by granting you access to all of the new updated materials. I'm waffling now, I think I'm waffling. I think I kind of said that bit twice. So there's not really much more to say about it. I mean, yeah, if you're serious about wanting to be a successful self-published author, you can do it. Like, I believe as long as you can string a sentence together or come up with an interesting concept, an idea, you can do it. You need to learn how to craft that story into a product that people want to buy, and you need to learn how to set up the business of publishing, because when you self-publish, you become a publisher yourself. Like, you have a business at that point. I mean, for me, I've written 30 books. So in terms of like advertising and marketing and stuff like that, all of those books continue to work for me long into the future. So you're making a business that can grow and expand to the point where every author's dream is that it becomes self-sustaining, that you can become a person who lives their life supported by the royalties you get from the books that you sell. That's the dream. And Mark Dawson's Launchpad, the self-publishing Launchpad, lays out the foundation of that dream, and you have to follow the steps. And really, that's all it takes, is following the steps. But you might have to follow the steps again. Launch a book, doesn't do so well. You learn from that. Follow the steps again with your next book. Learn from that. Follow the steps again in your next book until eventually it becomes something that you are successful at. It's just persistence. It's just persistence. And the willingness to improve upon things as you learn more. And apart from that, then it's just a business. And I think that's the thing. Launchpad is like a business in a box for you, as long as you can work on your product. But that's like any other type of business. And I think you've got to look at it as legitimate as if you get a Udemy course on how to be a real estate photographer. That's fine. That's a business in a box. It teaches you how to do that. This is how to do it, except there's almost, with self-publishing Launchpad, there's almost like this guilt. It's like, how dare I make a living from writing stories that I'm passionate about, that I'd probably write even if I wasn't getting paid for it. You almost feel like guilty at the thought of being able to make a living doing that, but you shouldn't. And that's the dream, isn't it? That's why we do it. That's why we are writers. And if you are really committed to that dream and you're willing to put in the work, because it's a lot of work, I told you. 2015 is when I took Mark Dawson's course. 2018 was when I hit my first bestseller. So if you're willing to put in the work, Mark Dawson's Launchpad gives you everything else you need. But you have to do it. You have to like go through those steps. And that's the really challenging part, is actually following through on this dream. But there we go. So that is my review of Launchpad. Updated, definitely worth the investment, a lot more than it was last year, and I recommended it last year. So if you found this review useful, then I'll tell you what, could you do me a favor? I have a link down below for Mark Dawson's Launchpad, and if you do decide to go and check it out and eventually buy it, if you could click on my link and like follow through there, I actually get a bit of piece of the action for your purchase, and I appreciate that. It's why I make videos like this. And just to sweeten that deal, although I think Launchpad fills a lot of the holes, I will also give you free access to the course that I created, which is, so you've self-published a book on Amazon, now what? And that's like my own take on a lot of the fundamental things that you need to be successful as a self-published author. So I think that is a nice complement to Mark Dawson's materials, and I'll give it to you for free if you end up buying Mark Dawson's Launchpad through the link that's down below, because you watched this video. And hopefully this video was useful. If it was, let me know. Drop me a comment. And if it wasn't useful, then let me know. Drop me a comment. I'm thick-skinned. I can take it. And I'll be back soon with more videos about writing and books and movies and James Bond, and probably some more James Bond. Quite a lot of James Bond, actually. Yeah, I like James Bond. Anyway, I will chat to you guys later. Cheerio. I'm Roland Hume. I've sold 67,000 copies of my books. If you want to find out how I did it, I've got the link right here you can click. And otherwise, don't forget to subscribe. I've got more videos coming soon. Thank you.